What's up guys, Ben here bringing you another video today. I know it's been a while, but now that we know all 12 CDL teams, it's time for a tier list video. So let's dive in, let's rank all the teams in our categories and show you who I think is going to go out to a strong or a really good start this season, or really just play well the whole season, and teams, well, that I think are kind of basically tanking and they're just kind of happy to be there. So let's dive in. If you're new here or you haven't watched my tier list videos before, I don't do like the S, A, D, F, like all that stupid stuff. I do it this way. So the first category is top of the class. These are the teams that I think are going to win events, win multiple events, win champs, etc., etc. Sunday regulars are teams that I expect to round out the top four, occasionally make finals, occasionally win an event. But these are the rest of the teams that I would consider as like your mainstay contenders. Might be contenders is basically your dark horses, whether it's to win event, make a deep run at champs. You always see like one kind of surprise team by the end of the season. So it's going to be like the rest of your top 6, top 8 teams. Missing champs are teams that I think are right on the cut line as far as making champs, doing a lot of events. They're just going to be kind of mid all year and sort of float around that spot. And tanking, well, it's going to be two teams. I already know who they are. The two teams are awful, and they're basically just happy to be there. They are the clear 11th and 12th best teams in the league right now. We're going to start with Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and put them in tanking. So a bunch of rumors have come out about Carolina the last couple of days or so. I know there was a lot of like, well, Slasher's still on the roster. Who is going to be joining them? Him in that situation. So it looks like the team, based on reporting coming from Breaking Point, is going to be Slasher, Geo, Lurks, and Craze. So you've got potentially an interesting young sub duo and a particularly slow AR duo. I can see them maybe just randomly being good at the beginning of the year, but when things are all said and done, and I'm making this tier list really with the thought of how I think the teams will be by the end of the year. I think unfortunately for Carolina, I kind of see them near the bottom of the league by the end of all things. All right, I'm gonna jump around a bit. Let's go with Boston Breach. Overperformed a bit last year. You know, the roster of Cam, Wake, Purge, and Snoop played way above their skill level last year. We're getting top 6 at like every event and had a really good placing at champs. They have actually replaced Wake with Byron Nasty this year. And I don't know if they're going to be able to run back that same, energy this year. So I don't think they're tanking, but I have them probably being like the 9th or 10th best team. So I'm going to put them in the missing champs category. Again, I will be surprised if they ever perform this year, but I just can't off the rip put them in like might be contenders. Because to be honest, I think not saying they got lucky. I just think things kind of aligned for them last year for them to sort of be fighting at all these events. I think for might be contenders, there's really two teams that I'm putting in this category. The first team I'm going to put is the Gentlemates team. Shout out to my guy Rose who made this tier maker. We don't know what the Gentlemates logo is going to look like in the CDL, but this is their sort of normal logo. So if you haven't been keeping up with the rumors, the Gentlemate squad's completely different this year. Dan Ghosty and Envoy coming over from LA Thieves, Sib coming over from C9, and Neptune coming over from the Vancouver Surge. So Dan, Dylan Envoy, and Neptune all had pretty good seasons. Those teams were pretty solid all year. Sib, I mean, pretty much had his most anonymous season as a pro. Roles, I think, are pretty clear on this team. I'm curious to see how Dan Ghosty Sib kind of AR duo works. The thing with this team is just, are these personalities going to work together in a way where they can be contenders? Because that to me is the thing holding them back. Because I have that giant question over their head, I'm putting them in this category. They could be really good. I'm going to sit here and tell you right now, don't be surprised if Gentlemates pull up to the season and they're just like fighting for chips off the rip. But also don't be surprised if this team goes like 0-5, 0-7, and it's just a complete catastrophe again, just because the personalities don't work. There's a whole range of outcomes of this team, and I just don't know where they're going to fall. And I feel the same way for this next team, which is the Riyadh Falcons. They're not the Vegas Falcons anymore. They're the Riyadh Falcons. Again, this team, just like Gentlemates, looks different, but not completely different from last year. Exon and Pred are still moving over from their roster last year, but they have picked up Celium from now Vegas FaZe and Kismet from Gentlemates. So a couple of things with that team. So Kiz is going to run an AR in this squad, which we haven't seen him do in a very long time, but I don't think that's going to be particularly of issue. I think him and Cell should be a pretty solid AR duo across all game modes. Xnid, we just don't know what the player caliber he's going to be. This is a year where he's got to make the development step where they may look to replace him if results don't do well. And Pred's the most interesting one, because here's my thing with AG on this squad. I think him and Kids and their chemistry is going to be super important early. If they're not able to get on the same page, I think this team could be a disaster from a personality standpoint, because I assume Exton's a very quiet guy. I know MC pretty well. He's fairly quiet as well. So it just could get off to a slow start personality-wise, and it could be a real issue. But talent-wise, this team could be really good, and they're going to come with a lot of energy and passion into every match. So again, just like Gentlemates, there's a whole range of outcomes of this team. They could be really good. They could be really terrible. And that's why I'm putting them kind of in the middle of the road, because I expect both these teams to make champs, but I just don't know how good they are going to be at the beginning of the year. Where do we want to go next? Let's go with C9. Oof, man. So the rumors on this team are not particularly great, not really inspiring if you're a Cloud9 team. It's looking like Beans and Afro, Mac, and Reese Vivid are the 4. And I'm sorry, I just don't see that team being particularly good. And I really don't want to spend a lot of time talking why I think this team is bad. If you want to know why a team is bad, we're going to record a flank episode today, so you can go check that out. But I mean, listen, it could work. It's just, I just don't see where the firepower is on this team, and they're just going to just get manhandled by a lot of squads. I also just don't know if there's a lot of like personality wise in this team. I just don't feel it, bro. Someone's got to be at the bottom of the league, and I feel like these guys are candidates to be there. And another team that I think, unfortunately for me, may also be in a ticket category, but for now I'm going to put them in missing champs, is this rumored Minnesota Rocker team, which you haven't been following the rumors. Dan Looney is still staying on as a coach. They have now rebranded to be Rocker G2 or Minnesota G2. They're not really using the Rocker branding anymore. And their team is a little bit weird. Mamba and Sky's AR duo, Estro and Kremp's sub duo. So I just don't know what to think about that team, because it's just weird. It's just a weird team. I don't feel like they have a great flex unless Mamba's going to be that guy. Estro Kremp sub duo is the same Rocker teams we've seen, bro. They could be really good, but they're not going to play 12 minutes of good Call of Duty every day. And I think they're going to be really annoying to watch all year and probably miss out on champs like, G2 does every year. All right, let's move up the list. Let me kind of start to round out some of these other categories. So who do I think is also potentially in the missing champs category? I'm going to go ahead and put this weird Vancouver Surge team. And if you haven't been following the rumors, this is a weird team. So their AR duo is going to be Lunars, who is coming from a very uninspiring year with that Dead Gentlemates team. And Legend, who is currently competing in Halo for OpTic, is supposedly going to be joining this team and running an AR. So he's never really competed in COD. That'll be interesting to watch. And their sub duo is going to be Gwyn, who's had some solid years slaying wise for Carolina, although playmaking skill, to be determined. And Abe, who had one appearance for to run Ultra at the end of the year, but mostly played Challengers last year. It's a weird lineup. Ricky Attore is supposedly coaching them. I don't know what to think about this team. I think by default, I'm going to have them in sort of the 8th, 9th spot, because I think Legend is really good. You watch him play Halo, and I won't be surprised if that guy wins Rookie of the Year this year. There's a lot of variability with that team, and I just don't know what to think. I think talent-wise, they're better than Boston. So I'm going to put them in the missing champs category. I just can't yet put them as a lock champ spot, but based on what's kind of remaining here, which is the 5 teams I have at the bottom of this, plus the 2 in Gentlemates and Falcons, one of these 5 teams is making champs. I just don't know which one is going to do it. All right, so let's start to round out this category. So let's do Sunday regulars. We're going to start with Vegas FaZe, completely new logo this year, and a fairly new team for the Vegas FaZe boys, who have seen Cell and Abizi leave to different teams. So Simp and Draza are still there, and they have picked up 0-4 and Abuza from Vancouver Surge. So as far as the ability to win, or at least make it deep in tournaments, there's a lot here, because Fall's appearances with the squad last year, it's a big number. The problem is that 0-4 and Abuza have still not converted those wins into dubs, and some of those dubs were ugly, especially, for example, one big loss they had against Atlanta FaZe in the Major 2 finals. This kind of new team puts Simp in that premier slaying role, so I think he's due for a pop-off here. I think if you're a FaZe fan, I think consistency may not be there as much this year, but the top end to me is still there. So I have them in Sunday regulars. You just might see more 6 from them than you expect, but this team, I think, across all modes still has it. And I'm excited to see 0-4. And I think Abuza might low-key pop off this year. He had a very good performance last year. A lot of people aren't talking about Abuza on a team like this. You could see Abuza have MVP all-star level performances this year on a team like this. I think also sort of rounding out the Sunday regular category, not rounding it out, but another team I'm putting there is Toronto KOI. The big change for them this year is Real coming in to pair off with the trio of Joe Thieves, Kleenex, and Insight. So that means Toby Kleenex is going to run an AR this year with Jamie Insight. Prediction I have for Toronto: if they do not consistently place like top 3 the first couple of events, I think they may replace Jamie Insight with somebody by the end of the year. But I really like the trio of the other 3 guys. There's a lot of firepower here. Is it going to be enough for them to really convert in those losers finals, winners finals, grand finals games? That's where they were short last year when they were constantly getting like 3rd at events and 4th. I don't know, but they're going to be there or thereabouts. This team is too good to be in like the might be contenders category. It's just a case of them actually playing good on a Sunday, and I think Real coming in might get them to that spot. And the last team I am putting in that category is the Miami Heretics. Again, with Real going to Toronto, that now leaves a spot for Miami. They had picked up Trakes, who played challengers last year. Very interesting submachine gun talent. Curious to see how he plays at the pro level, but was really good in challengers last year. I think as long as he has firepower and this team is able to play the way they were playing in S&D last year, I think they're going to be good. But if the S&D woes come back around, we can see the kind of Miami team we saw for half of last year where they were just maddening to watch because they just threw away series. But I think talent-wise, I have them in sort of that top 4, top 5 category of teams. And I think that leaves 2 squads, and I think it's, to me, the clear consensus, unless you're, say, like Patrick Price. Consensus, I think top 2 teams in the league. OpTic, Texas, don't need to talk an infinite amount of time about this team. They obviously won the 2 big events at the end of last year. You know, the big thing for them after a tumultuous year was having Merck basically fall in their lap, and that guy being potentially this year the best player in the game. I think for OpTic, it's just not having the hangover of playing good last year, being hungry again, having the same grind. Otherwise, other teams will catch up to them. But I mean, on paper, this team should win multiple events this year. And it's the same for this LA Thieves lineup, which is completely different from last year. The only holdovers are Scrap and Hydra. So they bring in Kenny, who didn't have the world's best year last year, to basically be the role-playing OBJ AR, and they bring in Tyler Abizi from FaZe. So first off, this is like the best sub duo that Hydra's ever had. Abe's got unbelievable talent. I know you guys like to meme me and Tyler Abizi, but that kid is disgusting. And I think him and Paco should get off to a good start. And obviously, I really like the Scrap Kenny AR duo. There's a lot here I like for Thieves. Potential shortcomings. There are a few things functionally at hardpoint and that's something they're going to need to figure out roles wise. I think they'll get to the bottom of that eventually over the course of the year. But don't be surprised if like they're a slow start again in S&D like they were last year. Communication will be interesting with this team. I don't think that Abe is always, I mean, the way I look at it with this team, Ken's comms are obviously very good. Scrap and Paco at times last year, comms are a little bit iffy. Abe's comms are fairly solid, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on the communication with this team off the rip to see if they get on a good level. So I think though, talent-wise, this team should, if they're not making Sundays, something's going wrong, and I think they're going to win multiple events. And for what it's worth, by the way, on the communication front, I didn't mention this for OpTic, but that's the one thing for OpTic that I am, and I'll get to it more when I do my individual team preview videos. The way the OpTic team structured last year, you know, there's a lot on Hook's shoulders from a communication standpoint. If that falters, I could see OpTic really bringing everybody back into the pack. But so let me know what you guys think of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we will see you on the next one.